What's up? So, heading into match day 37 of the English Premier League, the title already won, right? But there are still some things to fight for this season. It's quite ironic because I actually think Champions League sport and just Europe in general is what's been contested for the most this season. The league was relatively easy by Liverpool. Well, kudos to Arsenal for actually pushing Liverpool daily. A lot of banter of recent about Arsenal, but again, without Arsenal, Liverpool would have won the league a long time ago, possibly even winning the league with the record amount of games left. But again, with Arsenal trying their best, they pushed Liverpool as far as they could again. But we just knew it was a matter of time for Liverpool to win the title. And for the relegation battle on the other end, yes, it was, I think, more challenging than the Premier League title itself. But again, that also concluded too. We all know the three teams that are going to be relegated. Now, the Champions League sport. It's been quite some interesting games of recent, right? Which, to me, in some way, I would say no one. It feels as if no one wants to qualify for the Champions Leagues, for the Champions League, claiming the Champions League sport because whenever a team does have a clear chance to go move up to third place or even fourth place, they end up either losing or drawing after a series of exceptional performances, right? At some point of the season, the first and the second place were almost secured, or if not secured, and you had the other three spots with the Premier League teams having five spots to qualify for Champions League this season, and a potential sixth one. I think if either Manchester United or Tottenham wins the Europa League. But again, three other sports to compete for at some point by I think 16th. But as it stands now, going into game 37, Arsenal are not secured yet. So we only have one team that we can say are secured for Champions League sport, and not just secured, but also their position being Liverpool. But on the other side, though, Arsenal's draw against Liverpool, that 1 point I think would be very crucial in Arsenal qualifying for the Champions League, which to me, technically, Arsenal are already through to play in the Champions League next year. But the question is just where they're going to fall on the table, where they're going to finish as the season ends. So we have Arsenal in second place, 68 points. Newcastle, 66, 2 points behind Arsenal. Manchester City, 65. Chelsea in fifth place, 63. The same point as Aston Villa in sixth place, 63 too. You've got Nottingham Forest in seventh place, 62 points. So you have roughly six teams fighting for four spots. So it means two teams are not going to qualify for the Champions League next season. Probably the most important game of match day 37, the game of Arsenal versus Newcastle, second place versus third place. If Arsenal wins outrightly, I think they move to 71 points, and that's going to give them a 5 point gap over Newcastle, who are going to be in third place. And again, depending on the results from the other games, they might even fall further down. Again, if Newcastle wins, Newcastle move on to second spot with a total of 69 points, 1 point above Arsenal. And again, depending on Man City's game, if that's the result and Man City wins, they're going to be on the same point with Arsenal. But I think goal difference. I think again, if the next deciding factor is the goal difference, then Arsenal are going to be third and Man City still going to remain fourth. But then um, if it ends on a draw, right? Again, they're still going to maintain their positions respectively. So this game, I think the pressure probably would be more on Newcastle. I know Arsenal are also going to feel some type of pressure just because of how the season went for them, trying to finish the season on a high note. But again, if you really look at it, I think Newcastle are going to be the more attacking side, and Newcastle are going to be away. Arsenal does have a home advantage. So again, we're going to see how that game is going to, pan out. And one of the other game is Aston Villa, who are fighting for a Champions League spot against one of the big six of the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur. But not so big this season though, because Tottenham are actually occupying the 17th position in the league this season, and they haven't won any game in their in the past 5 matches. On the other side, Aston Villa, they've won 4 out of their 5 most recent Premier League games. So looking at all of that and just the position, you expect Aston Villa to get all maximum points from that game. Also, to another Champions League team for next season, potentially Chelsea. Chelsea are going to be taking on one of the other big six. Again, not so big this season, Manchester United, because they are presently occupying the 16th spot on the table. Chelsea in the last 5 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, and a defeat, and the defeat being their most recent game, and that was a loss to Newcastle. Again, Manchester United on the other end, they've not done so well this season. They haven't won any single game in their 5 Premier League games. So, again, you would expect, based on that result and based on their position on the table, for Chelsea to come out on top with all maximum points. But one thing I have always said about Manchester United when it comes to kind of like a derby against a top opposition, they tend to show up. So again, don't expect a potential draw, which I see, or even again, don't be surprised if Man U goes on to take all maximum point. But again, the way I see it coming into this game, I see Chelsea win or at least a draw for Chelsea. I don't see Chelsea losing all the points in this game. But again, it's the game of football. It has to be played, and we're going to see. The other team who are fighting for the Champions League spot, Manchester City. Well, they are not going to be playing this weekend exactly, but are going to be playing on Tuesday. And they do have an FA Cup final this weekend. So who knows if that might just affect their result or their performance playing on Tuesday, with Bournemouth having had that couple of days of rest, over Manchester City. Bournemouth presently occupying the 10th position in the league, 2 wins in the last 5 Premier League games, and Man City on the other side, 4 wins and a draw in the last 5 Champions League games. So you would really expect Man City to come out on top. But again, on the flip side, though, right, Man City drew, which was probably one of the most surprising results of the season. They drew against Southampton, the team, one of the teams that are going to be relegated bottom right now, and I guess, I think based on their position, they might end the season, being the 20th team. But again, surprising because Man City had something to fight for, or they do have something to fight for, which is the Champions League next season. And Southampton, on the other end, they don't have anything at all that they're fighting for. Right? They already know that they're going to be relegated, and not just relegated, but most likely going to finish the season in the 20th spot in the Premier League.